Brightly dawns our wedding day.
Joyous how we give thee greeting. Whither, whither art thou fleeting? Fickle moment, prithee stay. Fickle moment, prithee stay. What though mortal joys be hollow?
Pleasures come if sorrows follow.
Though the tocsin sound never, ding dong, ding dong, yet until the shadows fall over one and over all.
Sing a merry madrigal,
sing a merry madrigal, sing a merry madrigal. Fa la 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 la
let us dry the ready tear.
Oh, the hours are surely creeping, little need for woeful weeping, till the sad sundown is near, till the sad sundown is near. All must sip the cup of sorrow,
I today and thou tomorrow.
'Tis the close of every song. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. What though solemn shadows fall, sooner, later, over all.
Sing a merry madrigal,
sing a merry madrigal, sing a merry madrigal. Fa la 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 Braid the raven hair, weave the sable dress, deck the maiden fair in her loveliness, paint the pretty face, dye the coral lid, emphasize the grace of her ladyship. Art and nature thus alive.
make a pretty bride. Art and nature thus allied go to make a pretty bride.
Yes, I am indeed beautiful. Sometimes I sit and wonder in my limited first semester Japanese why it is that I am so much more kirei than anyone else in the whole world. Can this be vanity? No. Nature is lovely and rejoices in her loveliness. I am a child of nature and take after my mother.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He don't exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold and fiery gold, he glories all effulgent. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I. Observe his flame, that placid dame, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She borrows light that through the night mankind may all acclaim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I. Pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I.
My child, my poor child. How shall I break it to her? My little bride that was to have been. Was to have been? Yes, I'm afraid you never can be mine. Oh, I'm so glad! I've just ascertained that by the Mikado's law, when a married man is beheaded, his wife is buried alive. Buried alive! Buried alive! It's a most unpleasant death. But whom did you get that from? Oh, from Pooh-Bah. He's my solicitor. But he may be mistaken. Well, so I thought. So I consulted the Attorney General, the Lord Chief Justice, and Master of the Rolls. They're all of the same opinion. Never knew such unanimity on a point of law in my life. But stop a bit. This law has never been put into force. Well, not yet. You see, inappropriate flirting is the only crime punishable by decapitation, and until very recently in this country, only women were punished for that. Darling! Yes? I don't mean to appear selfish. And I love you with all my heart. I don't suppose I shall ever love anyone else half as much. But when I agreed to marry you, my own, I had no idea, pet, that I should have to be buried alive in a month. Well, nor I. This is the first I've heard of it. It makes a difference, doesn't it? Oh, it does make a difference, of course. You see, burial alive, it's such a stuffy death. Well, I call it a beast of a death. You see my difficulty, don't you? Well, yes, and I see my own. If I insist on you carrying out your promise, I doom you to a hideous death. But if I release you, you marry Coco at once.
Here's a howdy-do, if I marry you. When your time has come to perish, then the maiden whom you cherish must be slaughtered too. Here's a howdy-do, here's a howdy-do. Here's a pretty mess, in a month or less. I must die without a wedding, let the bitter tears I'm shedding witness my distress. Here's a pretty mess, here's a pretty mess. Here's a state of things, to her life she clings. Matrimonial devotion doesn't seem to suit her notion, burial it brings. Here's a state of things, here's a state of things.
With a passion that's intense I worship and adore, but the laws of common sense we oughtn't to ignore. If what he says is true, 'tis death to marry you. Here's a pretty state of things, here's a pretty howdy-do. Here's a pretty state of things, a pretty state of things.
Here's a howdy-do,
Here's a pretty mess,
here's a state of things.
For if what he says is true, I cannot marry you. Here's a pretty state of things. Here's a pretty howdy-do.
The Mikado and his suite are approaching the city and will be here in 5 minutes. The Mikado? Oh, he's coming to see if his orders have been carried out. Oh, now look here. This is getting serious. Well, very well then. Behead me. What now? Well, certainly, at once. Chop it off, chop it off. My good sir, I don't go about ready to behead gentlemen at a moment's notice. Well, I don't know how it's done. I mean to take lessons. I mean to begin with a guinea pig and work my way up through the animal kingdom until I come to a second trombone. Oh, come, sir. We all have unpleasant duties to discharge at times. After all, if I don't mind, why should you? Sooner or later, it must be done. Must it? I'm not so sure about that. Why should I kill you when making an affidavit that you've been executed will do just as well? Well, here are plenty of witnesses. The Lord Chief Justice, Lord Chamberlain, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Attorney General. Am I to understand that all of us high officers of state are required to perjure ourselves merely to ensure your safety? Well, I suppose it could be a useful discipline. Very well, choose your fiction and I'll endorse it. But I tell you that life without Yum-Yum, oh, Yum, 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 bother Yum-Yum. Here, go with His Grace the Archbishop of Titipu, take Yum-Yum and marry Yum-Yum, only go away and never come back again. Oh, close thing that, for here he comes.
sama, o mana mae ni, pira pira suru no ananjana. Toko tonyare na. Mia sama, o mana mae ni, pira pira suru no ananjana. Toko tonyare na.
From every kind of man obedience I expect. I'm the Emperor of Japan, and I'm his daughter-in-law elect. He'll marry his son, he's only got one, to his daughter-in-law elect. My morals have been declared particularly correct, but they're nothing at all compared with those of his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. In a fatherly kind of way, I govern each tribe and sect. All cheerfully own my sway, except his daughter-in-law elect. As tough as a bone with a will of her own is his daughter-in-law elect. My nature is love and light, my freedom from all defect. He's insignificant quite compared with his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. Bow, bow to his daughter-in-law elect. A more humane Mikado never did in Japan exist. To nobody's second I'm certainly reckoned a true philanthropist. It is my ever humane endeavor to make to some extent each evil liver a running river of harmless merriment. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pant, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment. The journalist with policy questions so clearly designed to bait will feed 'em with packs of alternative facts until they can't keep 'em straight. When football players abuse our anthem to carry out left-wing plots, elected officials well armed with dog whistles will call in the Russian bots. Elite professor types claiming a colleague should hide away in shame, dissecting all cases in which he was racist and every harassment claim. We'll let them start to hope that public opinion will make us budge, then join the nation at his confirmation for life as a federal judge. My object all sublime I shall achieve in time, to let the punishment fit the crime, the punishment fit the crime, and make each prisoner pent, unwillingly represent a source of innocent merriment, of innocent merriment.
I am honored to be permitted to welcome your majesty. I've guessed the object of your majesty's visit. Your majesty's orders have been carried out. The execution has taken place. The coroner has just handed me the certificate. Oh, you've had an execution, have you?
at Titipu in the presence of the Lord Chief Justice, Lord Chamberlain, Secretary of State for the Home Department, and groom of the second floor front. They were all there, Your Majesty. I counted them myself. It really was a remarkable scene.
The criminal cried as he dropped him down in a state of wild alarm. With a frightful, frantic, fearful frown, I bared my big right arm. I seized him by his little pigtail, and on his knees fell he. As he squirmed and struggled and gurgled and guggled, I drew my snicker-snee. My snicker-snee. Oh, never shall I forget the cry or the shriek that shrieked he. As I gnashed my teeth when from its sheath I drew my snicker-snee. He shivered and shook as he gave the sign for the stroke he didn't deserve. When all of a sudden his eye met mine and seemed to brace his nerve, for he nodded his head and kissed his hand and whistled an air did he, as the saber true cut cleanly through his cervical vertebrae. His vertebrae. When a man's afraid, a beautiful maid is a cheering sight to see. And if so, I'm glad that moment sad was soothed by sight of me. Now, though you'd have said that head was dead, for its owner dead was he. It stood on its neck with a smile well bred, and bowed 3 times to me. It was none of your impudent offhand nods, but as humble as could be, for he clearly knew the deference due to a man of pedigree. Of pedigree. And if so, I vow this deathly bow was a touching sight to see. Though trunkless yet, he couldn't forget the deference due to me.
See here, his name, Nankipu, beheaded this morning. Where shall I find another? My good sir, it seems that in your anxiety to carry out my wishes, you have beheaded the heir to the throne of Japan. But don't distress yourself. If a man of exalted rank chooses to disguise himself as a second trombone, he must accept the consequences. I forget the punishment for compassing the death of the heir apparent. Punishment? Yes. I think boiling oil occurs in it, but I'm not sure. I know it's something humorous, but lingering. I really am very sorry for all of you, but it's an unjust world, and virtue is triumphant only in theatrical performances.
Well, a nice mess we've gotten ourselves into. There's only one thing to be done. Nanki-Poo hasn't started yet. He must come to life again at once. Oh, here he is. Nanki-Poo, a terrible thing has just happened. It seems that you are the son of the Mikado. Well, yes, but that happened some time ago. Is this a time for airy persiflage? Your father is here, and with Katisha. My father, and with Katisha? But Katisha claims me in marriage. But I can't marry her because I'm married already. Consequently, she will insist on my execution, and if I am executed, my wife will be buried alive. Well, yes, I don't know what's to be done. There's one chance for you. If you could convince Katisha to marry you, well, then she'd have no further claim on me. And I could come to life again without having any fear of being put to death. I marry Katisha? Have you seen her? She's something appalling. Well, I admit she dresses a bit over the top, but physiologically, she really is completely indistinguishable from the rest of us. Anyway, it comes down to this. When Katisha is married, existence will be welcome as cherry blossoms in spring. But as long as Katisha is single, I'm a dead man, and I'm off for my honeymoon.
See how the fates their gifts allot, for A is happy, B is not, yet B is worthy, I dare say, of more prosperity than A. Is B more worthy? I should say. He's worth a great deal more than A. Yet A is happy, oh so happy, laughing, ha ha, chaffing, ha ha, nectar quaffing, ha ha ha, ever joyous, ever gay, happy, undeserving A, ever joyous, ever gay, happy, undeserving A. If I were fortune, which I'm not, B should enjoy A's happy lot, and A should die in misery. That is assuming I am B. But should A perish? That should he. Of course, assuming I am B. B should be happy, oh so happy, laughing, ha ha, chaffing, ha ha, nectar quaffing, ha ha ha, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B, but condemned to die is he. Wretched meritorious B. Alone and yet alive, O sepulchre, my soul is still my body's prisoner. Remote the peace that death alone can give, my doom to it, my punishment to live. Hearts do not break, they sting and ache, for old love's sake, but do not die. Though with each breath they long for death, as witnesseth the living eye, the living eye. O living eye. May not a cheated maiden die. May not a cheated maiden die.
Kadisha! Kadisha, mercy! The miscreant who robbed me of my love! He did not love me, but he would have loved me in time. I am an acquired taste. Only the educated palate can appreciate me. I was educating his palate when he left me. Well, now he is dead, and where shall I find another? It takes years to train a man to love me. Oh, Kadisha, for years I have loved thee with a white-hot passion that is slowly but surely consuming my very vitals. Ah, shrink not from me. Ah! Kadisha, if there is aught of woman's mercy in your heart, turn not away from a lovesick suppliant whose every fibre thrills to your tiniest touch. True it is that under a poor mask of disgust, I have endeavored to conceal a passion whose inner fires are broiling the soul within me. But the fire will not be smothered. It defies all attempts at extinction, and breaking forth ever more eagerly from its long restraint, declares itself in words that will not be weighed, that cannot be schooled, that should not be too severely criticized. Kadisha, accept my love, or I perish on the spot. Oh, go to! Who knows so well as I that nobody ever yet died of a broken heart? You know not what you say. Listen.
On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit willow, tit willow. And I said to him, Dicky bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit willow, tit willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head, he replied, Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit willow, tit willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. He sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave, and an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't willow, tit willow, tit willow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why, though I probably shall not exclaim as I die. Oh, willow, tit willow, tit willow.
Poor little chap! And if I refuse you, will you go out and do the same? At once! Oh, no, you mustn't! Anything but that! Oh, I'm a silly little goose. And you won't mind if I'm just a wee bit bloodthirsty, will you? Oh, Kadisha, is there not beauty even in bloodthirstiness? My idea exactly.
There is beauty in the bellow of the blast. There is grandeur at the growling of the gale. There is eloquent outpouring when the lion is a-roaring and the tiger is a-lashing of his tail. Yes, I'd like to see a tiger from the Congo or the Niger, and especially when lashing of his tail. Volcanoes have a splendor that is grim, and earthquakes only terrify the dolts. But to him who's scientific, there is nothing that's terrific in the falling of a flight of thunderbolts. Yes, in spite of all my meekness, if I have a little weakness, it's a passion for the flight of thunderbolts. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. There is beauty in extreme old age. Do you fancy that you're elderly enough? Information I'm requesting on a subject interesting. Is the maiden all the better when she's tough? Throw out the swine dominion, it's the general opinion that she'll last a good deal longer when she's tough. Are you old enough to marry, do you think? Oh, won't you wait until you're 80 in the shade? There's a fascination frantic in a ruin that's romantic. Do you think you are sufficiently decayed? To the matter that you mention, I have given some attention, and I think I am sufficiently decayed. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. If that is so, sing derry down derry, it's evident very our tastes are one. Away we'll go and merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. Sing derry down derry, we'll merrily merry, nor tardily tarry till day is done. For he's gone and married Yum Yum.
Yum yum.
Your anger pray bury, for all will be merry. I think you had better succumb.
Come come.
And join our expressions of glee. On this subject we pray you be dumb.
Dum dum.
Your notions, though many, are not worth a penny. The word for your guidance is mum.
Mum mum.
You very good bargain in me.
On this subject we pray you be dumb, dumb, dumb. We think you had better succumb, come, come. You'll find there are many who went for a penny, who went for a penny. There are lots of good fish in the sea, there are lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea. There's lots of good fish in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea, in the sea.
The threatened cloud has passed away, and brightly shines the dawning day. What though the night may come too soon, we've years and years of afternoon.
Then let the throng of joy advance with laughing song, and merry dance. Then let the throng of joy advance with laughing song and merry dance, with laughing song and merry dance, with laughing song. With joyous shout, and ringing cheer, inaugurate the new career. With joyous shout and ringing cheer, inaugurate the new career. With joyous shout and ringing cheer, inaugurate the new career. With laughing song and merry dance, with laughing song and merry dance.